Welcome to In Pursuit of Truth. This is your host, Sir Patrick Mack. We are back with what looks to be another big week in the news. I hope you all enjoyed your weekend. I most certainly did. I think it's important to take a little time for yourself every once in a while, especially during the holidays. Take a little time and love on yourself. And speaking of loving on ourselves, I'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you for helping me reach 70,000 subscribers. Yeah, I think we did that late last week. So thank you so much to all of you who have been watching, liking, sticking with me, sharing my videos. I appreciate all that you do, as well as your emails, your comments, and everything that you contribute to this little crew. And we're a pretty dope crew, and this dope crew is well represented on that cake. Look at y'all getting down to the funky sound of a truth right there. It's because we're all red-pilled and woke, but we're also funky, and we can get down on the one. So there you are. Although it seems like one person is conspicuously missing from this crew, and that might just be CEO of YouTube, Susan Wojcicki. No thanks to you. No cake for you, Susan. But because it's the holiday season, we're not bitter. We're sweet, and cake is sweet, and this is a sweet cake. And I have a feeling, to be honest with you, this might not be a real cake. So I brought me some backup. And this is a good fat backup right here. Look at the size of that thing. Look at the circumference on that bad boy. My goodness, it's just a big, fat, old chocolate cake. Nothing fancy, just a big chocolate bomb. And when you want to bomb somebody with some chocolate, but you already baked the cake and you're like, no, this isn't chocolate enough, you bomb it from the outside, and then you just stick all the shrapnel on the outside. I guess that's what it is, just a bunch of chocolate shrapnel. Yep, there you go. So there's your big, fat chocolate cake. Do me a favor. Scooch over, say hello to your neighbor. Let's get started. Thanks to all of you. Not you, Susan. Okay, so there's a few things I want to talk at you about today, but I want to start over here on one of these Q boards. Now, this one in particular that I'm using today is qntmpkts.keybase.pub, otherwise known as Quantum. Doesn't really matter what board you're on. If you have something similar to this, it should be relevant. Now, I've seen a little bit of misinformation going on around the interwebs lately, and some of it even coming from some content creators. And I just want to point out at least my standpoint on this, and you can do with it what you will. I'm going to use post 2617 as an example. I want you to note here, we're not really worried so much about the content here, but in this particular post, you see Q's answer being NSA ability to overreach host possible. And beneath NSA, you see what looks to be a dash and then a series of ... Now, there's a lot of people who think there's something into it. And you're going to see this throughout, particularly in whether it be three-letter abbreviations. Here we have it on the Fed. Okay, you have that dash and you have, We see this all the time, and a lot of people have meant to kind of assume that this was some sort of special code, or Q is underlining this for a reason or whatnot. I want to point out that this is not from Q, and let me show you what I mean here. Now, if you just hover your mouse over it, you'll see that NSA stands for National Security Agency, and I'm going to show you over here with the Fed. Hover your mouse over there, and you get the Federal Reserve. Okay, this is coming from the board itself, not from Q. Let me say that again. This is coming from the board itself and not from Q. Let me show you back on 2617 what I mean. So once again, you hover your mouse over this to the NSA and any of these that are underlined like this, and it will help you get the abbreviation. What this is months and months of compilation from Anons that we've kind of figured out what some of these mean. Some of these, for months, we didn't know what they meant. Particularly like ES. We weren't sure if it was Eric Schmidt, Edward Snowden. Turned out to be both. We've had to get lots of clarification over the months. So for those of you who are newer to QAnon, this is a way of utilizing this to figure out what some of these mean. If they don't have the underlining on it, chances are it's because we don't yet have a real good working answer yet. Now we're going to see this displayed here again over here on qmap.pub. I've got this drawn up for you. Same post. NSA ability to overreach hosts possible. And over here, if you hover over it, you get a little question mark. And then it pops up, NSA. So this was done here on the board to help us understand this. There are a lot of people out there saying that this is underlined and Q is giving us some sort of particular stress or whatever. No, I don't believe this is coming from Q. And let me show you exactly what I mean. Now we're on 8chan, where Q actually posts. And here's the same post. Now, I'm sorry, that's as best as I can get it blown up here, but you can see there's no underlining at all underneath NSA. It's the same post. NSA ability to overreach hosts possible. You can see there's no underlining there. So whoever takes these here and puts them onto boards like QMap or Quintum or whatever site that you're using already is using this to give you the idea of what Q is talking about, but Q is not underlining it themselves. I hope that makes sense. I hope that helps you in your search. I just wanted to let you know that. Thanks to all the Anons who have been doing that to help us understand these, because sometimes we don't exactly know what these mean. But as you go reading over these, if you hover your mouse over it, you will get the answer, at least to the ones that are underlined. So hopefully that will help you. Let's go ahead and move on. And speaking of misinformation, we're on medium.com. QAnon, identity theft, and the progressive candidate. A central figure in the QAnon conspiracy theory has been revealed to be former progressive Green Party candidate Ray Parrish. The failed Arizona congressional candidate may be responsible for assuming someone else's identity online in order to earn revenue through his affiliate programs. Posing as Vincent Fusca, a Pennsylvania GOP delegate, Parrish has fooled the entire following of the fringe conspiracy movement, and the details of his identity were in plain sight, available on the very same social media platform used to sustain the lie. The QAnon conspiracy is all-encompassing. Of course it is. And last year, the theory that JFK Jr. was still alive merged into the movement and was quickly propelled into prominence by the followers. In a separate board on 8chan, a user by the name of Anon was created to float this theory. Shortly thereafter, the Twitter user The Real Anon archive emerged, making the definitive association to the board owner. We will not be linking to 8chan for its history of child pornography and racially charged content. Well, I'll do it for you. Here it is. There's none of that I can see anywhere here at all. Okay. So, this can be found on episode 19 of the QAnon Anonymous podcast. Using strange tweets found by Twitter using Jennifer TX Girl and a search by date syntax, I learned very fast who the account was actually run by. We'll have to rely partly on archived tweets here, since I hinted publicly that this account was in question. Parrish has started to delete some of the ones that prove his identity, but in September 2016, he tweeted archive to the Coconino Sheriff to stand with me in District 1 for Congress, and in an earlier tweet recognized the challenges of running as green in rural/red Arizona, later tweeting his own campaign advertisement to Gary Keene asking who is the real progressive with the Medicare for All hashtag, and up until assuming Fusca's identity, Parrish's old timeline is littered with progressive talking points and urging people to vote green in 2020. Now here's a look at Ray Parrish. And here's a picture of Vincent Fusca. Once again, Ray Parrish and Vincent Fusca. Doesn't look even close to the same guy to me. Just saying. Okay, so I'm going to leave this story down below for you if you'd like to read it. It looks like a lot to me like a bunch of Twitter baby mama drama that I'm not interested in getting into. A couple things I do want to point out about this article. First of all, it's Medium, so think along the lines of Huffington Post, Daily Beast, okay? This is, Will Sommer, that wuss Ben Collins over there at the Beast. This is ridiculous. So when you're talking about misinformation as well as disinformation, Medium probably qualifies for a whole lot of both. But it seems to me like they're going after this Vincent Fusca guy. And I also noticed that they talk a lot about Twitter. What they don't talk about is 8chan, which is where Q actually posts. Now, admittedly, I'm one of these guys that has not really been very compelled by this Vincent Fusca story. I'm not convinced. And at the same time, I understand that there's a lot of really great patriots out there that disagree with me. And because we're great patriots, I would sense that we can agree to disagree. I also leave my mind open for, the ability to have it changed. If somebody comes with something very compelling, I want to be able to change my mind. But it's been something that I haven't really gone off on my own searches about. I tend to stick with the day-to-day kind of stuff. Like I've said before, it just isn't really a compelling story for me. But out of respect for those who are searching for this, and they may turn up something really, really great, I most certainly would never want to disparage or discourage that kind of search. As a matter of fact, I think anybody who's out there putting their nuts on the line to go search for the truth deserves to be commended, and I really appreciate that. But I do find it interesting that Medium went after not only QAnon, but this Vincent Fusca. And really all they have to talk about, like I said, it's all about this Twitter stuff. Now, I don't want to get into all that stuff. Like I said, it's just a bunch of drama, right? But it lends to a bigger point that I really, really, really want to impress upon you patriots, is that Q posts on 8chan, and that's it. And Q has said before, over and over again, no outside comms. Let me say that again. No outside comms. Now, over the months, we've seen more QAnon channels and more truther channels that are related to QAnon, and I think it's fantastic. I really, really do. But what I also have noticed is that we have sort of a trend over the months. And every couple of months, we get wrapped up in these new Twitter handles and these new people over on Twitter, whether it's a Reddit thread. It's mostly Twitter I see, but it could be on other social media platforms. Hey, Patrick, so-and-so, this weird account just popped up on Twitter and da-da-da-da. I think so-and-so might be so-and-so. Look, you might be right, but I just want to memorize you. Q said over here on 8chan, no outside comms. Now, call me crazy, but I like to keep it simple, and that is just my prerogative. I will do that, and I will do that on this channel. That being said, you're welcome to find whatever you can. I just want to caution up against the fact that Q has always said no outside comms. Having said all that, believe whatever you like to believe, follow whoever you want to follow, have fun with it all, relax, enjoy the process. And in regards to Q, I'll be checking it out over here on Quintum Bucatus, where Q posts from 8chan. Let's move on. This from December 14th off of WSBTV Atlanta. Entire floor at DC Federal Courthouse sealed off for mystery case. Journalists were kept away from a secret federal appeals court hearing on Friday in Washington, D.C., as officials sealed off an entire floor for over an hour during arguments in a mysterious grand jury case, which some believe could be related to the special counsel investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 elections. The case, known officially as In Regards to Grand Jury Subpoena, has been sealed in its entirety when it comes to public records, as it moved from the district court to the appeals court level in recent months. Reporters at the courthouse, which is just down the hill from the U.S. Capitol, at first tried to gather outside the courtroom where the secret arguments were going to take place, but then security officials sealed off the entire fifth floor of the building, making it nearly impossible to find out who was involved in the matter. We have spread out across the building, tweeted Darren Samuelson, a reporter for Politico. No sightings yet to report of note. And here's a tweet from Sarah Ann Lynch. Reporters kicked off the fifth floor entirely for a sealed appeals hearing that may involve Mueller on, I'm assuming that's a typo, grand jury dispute. They are even searching stairwells for reporters. We have split up and trying to cover all entrances and exit. And Charlie Guile from NBC says arguments in the sealed Mueller case are ongoing. Everyone was booted out of the Court of Appeals and the entire floor was cleared. Zoe Tillman. The D.C. Circuit is about to hear arguments in the sealed grand jury matter. They've sealed not only the courtroom, but the whole floor. So we've been moved away. Haven't recognized anyone going in earlier as being connected to Mueller's office. Now we won't be able to see. The possible tie to the Mueller investigation was reported by Politico earlier this year when one of their reporters observed someone asking for a secret court filing to take to a law firm involved in the matter. There are two different sealed cases involving an unknown grand jury which have attracted attention at the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals, as the relatively speedy nature of the cases and then today's sealing off of an entire floor has prompted intense interest. To this day, I can't fathom what the heck it could be that would move this fast and get this much secrecy, said National Security lawyer Bradley Moss. And here's the tweet right here. So interesting stuff. And like I said, this was back on the 14th. Now it looks like by Friday this thing had wrapped up and reporters still didn't know who had gone in or out. And of course, if they sealed off the floor, they could have gone in and out of these rooms and nobody would have been able to know. Many of them obviously speculating that this has something to do with Robert Mueller's investigation, but this could be something completely different. But I would say this, that whatever it was important enough to shut off the media, which leads me to think that it is going down on the fifth floor. Now for this next story, I'm taking you over here to my Twitter, where I retweeted this yesterday from QAnon Poland, who posts, Anon, the two pictures show a prison barge in port at Morehead City, North Carolina. The barge recently arrived from New York City. Family member who is a boat captain in this area saw it and recognized it as a prison barge from New York, where he used to live. Well, the picture on the left is actually from Wikipedia, and this picture, although it's very small, does look to be Morehead, North Carolina. But let's go ahead and look over here on Wikipedia. This is the Vernon C. Bain Correctional Center. also known as the Vernon C. Bain Maritime Facility, and under the nickname The Boat, which is a stupid nickname, is an 800-bed jail barge used to hold inmates for the New York City Department of Corrections. The barge is anchored off the Bronx's southern shore near Hunts Point. It was built in New Orleans along the Mississippi River for $161 million in Avondale Shipyard and brought to New York in 1992 to reduce overcrowding in the island's landbound buildings for a lower price. So I'm assuming that would be Rikers Island. And here is an article off of G Captain talking about it. This is from back in 2012. New York City's prison barge, the most depressing barge in the world. And there it is right there. Of course it's depressing. It's got a depressing nickname, The Boat. A stupid nickname. We're going to call it Pokey McFloater Bottoms. Yep, see, it already kind of lightens up the place, doesn't it? Boy, they could stand to decorate around there. That is a sad-looking boat. So this prison barge here falls under the New York City Department of Corrections and is part of the vast, there you go, Rikers Island Jail Complex, the world's largest penal colony. The prison barge was built in New Orleans for blah, 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 blah. We just read about that. Okay, so, but they're reporting that they're seeing this in Morehead. Now, this looks to be the one picture that they were posting, which led me to think that this was probably not true, although the other place did look like it could be North Carolina. Now, this is the part 2 from 8chan, the top part being the tweet that I already read you. This was also from 8chan, and this is the part 2 on the bottom here with the picture of Morehead City, North Carolina, the port there. He placed a call to some port workers that he knew and confirmed the boat's origin and found out that the prison barge is heading to Cuba. It is literally a floating prison. They also relayed that according to their paperwork that a second prison barge is coming from the west coast of U.S., also headed for Cuba. My family member contacted me and sent the pictures because of my discussion about Gitmo and Q with him. Okay, well, keep in mind this top picture here is from the Bronx. Incidentally, I believe this is the same prison barge that was used in the movie Carlito's Way. You guys remember that? Carlito, look at me, Carlito. But this definitely is North Carolina here, or at least it seems to be. Now, I'm not seeing the relation, so I'm not going to buy this story off of these pictures. But this is the story from QAnon Poland. Thanks to A Bish on Twitter, who said, I talked with a friend who is local to this port. She went there on Wednesday or Thursday last week to see if the ship was still there, and it wasn't. Okay, so like I said in my tweet, take it for what you will. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not ready to buy this one yet. I've scoured 8chan, I've scoured the news, and I have also scoured Twitter, and I've pretty much come up with everybody rehashing this same story. And my concern here is that neither picture is conclusive proof. The first picture is from it ported in there in New York, and the second picture is of North Carolina, but not the ship. So I'm not really ready to buy on this one yet. However, if anybody has spotted this, I would love to know it. If you are somewhere along the southeast coast and you see a big, fat, pokey McFloater Bottoms going by your way, please grab your camera and let us know. But I'm going to say, as of yet, I would say do not buy on this story just yet. Now, I guess it could be possible. I'm not so sure that a floating prison that would be so feasible. I would think there would be a lot of retrofitting that would have to go on in order for this to happen. Also, if this was indeed housing prisoners, I would think you'd have to move them. Seems like there would be a lot to, kind of go into this whole process. But that being said, it could very well be possible. That's all I can find on this story as of yet, so take it for what you will. Now I'm over here on the YouTube page of the American Mirror, and this is a little compilation video from a recent press conference from our favorite life of the party, Nancy Pants Pelosi. And this is entitled Nancy Pelosi Suffers Brain Freezes. It's just about a 2-minute video. Check this out.
It's a bill that is much needed for our farmers and ranchers. I think there are only 47 votes against it in the House of Representatives. The American people should know the source of it. Again, we are engaged in the year-end.
What are we talking about?
Continuing resolution, Homeland Security. I'm not sure. No, I haven't spoken to him since he called the other day, which was a very amicable conversation. Amiable, I guess you would say, not amicable. And I talked to Chuck last night to say, we haven't had an answer. There are other things that are going on that are newsworthy, and I think I think you'd have more viewers or readers if it would address concerns that people have. The list goes on about the priorities that the committees have to establish. We go to a hotel, you see the staff and thank them, the service staff, the bus boys. One of them said to me, here's some advice I give you. When they ask about the president's tax returns, and he says, when they talk about the Mueller, he said, when they talk about, this is a newcomer to America in the back of the restaurant, of the hotel restaurant, saying, when the president says the Mueller investigation is going on too long, just tell him not as long as your audit, Mr. President.
Oh, Nancy. I don't even know what to say. I just feel like I'm piling on at this point, and particularly if this lady's not well, I most certainly don't want to pile on, but that doesn't look good. I know that's a series of edited clips, and of course we can all misspeak, and some of us aren't as good as others when it comes to a spotlight and a microphone. But we've seen her in the past, and it looks like she is having some momentary lapse of reason. This lady is going to be swinging a gavel soon. Speaking of which, let's talk about this calendar real quick. This is from Anon, talking about looking ahead. Now, of course, I think we can all agree that we really are in fourth quarter go time. If we are really truly going to get down to brass tacks, we need to get it done by the end of the year, right? And here's what we're looking at. Monday, December 17th. I know. Loretta Lynch closed door session week of December 17th with Congress. So that's going to be today for you guys in the States. And I will be trying to stay up to see if I can keep abreast of this situation. It also looks like we've got Comey back in the testimony chair again. So that's all going down today, December 17th. I know, dude, I know. So let's talk about tomorrow, Tuesday, December 18th, General Flynn's sentencing hearing. This should be very interesting, right, General Flynn? Now, this has been, kicked down the road for quite some time, and it remains to be seen if we're going to get any big bombs today that will add or fuel to the fire, or if it will really show whether or not Flynn needs to be sentenced at all. Now, it looks to me like he's probably going to get a very light sentence, maybe even some probation, may not get any time at all, but let me rememberize you. Here's a little excerpt from post 953 from back on March 17th. I know, all right? Flynn targeted. Why? Well, because he knows where the bodies are buried. Who knows where the bodies are buried? Flynn. Then Q says cleared of all charges. Yeah, who knows? Trump admin version 2. So, could Flynn find himself, maybe even as early as this week, cleared of all charges and eventually in some sort of admin role? Could that maybe be a chief of staff role? You tell me. But this was from post 953. Will we find out what's going on with these missing 302s? Why did it take so long for Peter Strzok to get back with these doctored 302s? Why are these all redacted, right? What are we going to find out by this time? Now, I suspect that both Aunt Loretta Lynch and James Nobody's homie Comey would love to testify after the sentencing, but we've got it conveniently placed instead after their testimony, and that must really not feel comfortable for James Comey. On Wednesday, December 19th at 2:30 p.m., Senate Judiciary Subcommittee on Antitrust, Competition Policy and Consumer Rights hearings to examine a comparative look at competition law approaches to monopoly and abuse of dominance in U.S. and EU. Now, I'm hoping this would also be, I don't know if C-SPAN will have this or whatnot. We'll have to see. And then it looks like because of all the busy stuff going on this week, they're going to have Taco Tuesday on Thursday, December 20th. Everyone's chilling on that day. And then on Friday, December 21st, the DNI report. 2018 voter fraud, likely the same as December 22nd item. And I'll read that in a second here. But remember, Q said in the Q&A that we are likely to not be exposing any voter fraud until after January. Now, that may be disinformation. But if that is the case, I would assume these items from the December 21st and 22nd, if they're not going to be bomb diggity events, they are probably going to be setting up another event post-January. But I would imagine that this would really have to be where some bombs are dropping, because after that we're into January and we are getting ready to swear Congress in, and this is where it really gets down to the wire. So definitely crucial times right now. Now on December 22nd, Trump EO orders Director of National Intelligence to conduct assessment on U.S. election integrity and deliver it with supporting info to POTUS, Secretaries of State, Treasury, Defense, Homeland Security, and Attorney General no later than December 22nd, 2018. So somewhere in that period, we're hopefully going to figure out something. Whether or not that something ends up being another event in January, I don't really know. But I would assume if you're going to want to drop a bomb, you're going to want to drop it sometime this week. A lot of big events to keep our eyes out for. And then finally on Tuesday, January 1st, 2019, January 1, 2018, executive order changing military tribunal rules takes effect.
Can you save us, Britney Spears? Can we be saved?
I'm not so sure that Britney can save you at this point.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
That's right, oddly confident lady. And that's all I got for you today, kids. Stay tuned. As always, if you like this video, please click like, share, and subscribe. Thanks to all of you who are already doing that. And thanks to all of you who have gotten us to 70,000 subscribers. I appreciate and love every single one of you. If you are new to my channel, welcome to you. Please keep in mind that from time to time, you will get unclicked, unnotified, and unsubscribed. That's a little favor that CEO of YouTube, Susan Wojcicki, likes to do specifically just for you. So do me a favor and just check back from time to time and click yourself. All my links are down below to my Gab, my BitChute, my Brighteon.com, and of course I'm over here on Twitter running my mouth all the time at IPOT1776. That's at IPOT1776. My email is also down below. And if you'd like to support the channel, my Patreon link is also down below. All those links are down below. Okay, kids, this is Sir Patrick Mack, and until next time, stay festive.